Hopefully it doesn't shut down again today. Last night, the video didn't work. Fingers crossed it works tonight. Hi,
Hello, you're right.
how are you?
Yeah, we're all good, thank you. All good.
Baby to put to bed?
Yeah, just put him down about 15 minutes ago just before I messaged her.
Good stuff, good stuff. How's things? How are you getting on in
Yeah,
quarantine?
yeah, all right, to be honest. I mean, I haven't really done all too much training, but apart from that, everything's good. I mean, it's got to the point now where just scrolling through the same things over and over again is driving me
Yeah.
insane. So I don't know if you see my story just then after this, I'm just getting off Instagram, Twitter, and that for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, not like deleting anything, just like getting the apps off my phone. So I just to save me
Headspace.
from. Not even that. It's just boring going over the same stuff
Yeah.
again and again. Do you know what I mean?
Have you got a gym in your house? Like, are you able, have you got...
I mean, excuse the mess because my little one's just been a tornado. But this is about as far as it goes, and I've got my garden out there. So
Well, at
that's
least you have a garden. That's not too bad, right?
yeah. That's as far as it goes, though. To be honest.
How have you been finding the fact that like you can't get to the gym and you're being stuck in?
Do you know what? I'm quite a homebody anyway. Don't get me wrong. I like my nights out. I'm a 24-year-old lad. I mean, who doesn't? But I am quite a homebody anyway. Do you know what I mean? I spend a lot of time, so it's not bothered me that much compared to say it would have some other
Hmm.
people. I've just been binge watching films and what's been good to be fair is I've had a lot of time to spend with Chance, my son. Because when I'm in camp, I only see him on the weekends.
Okay.
Because when I'm training 2-3 times a day, like having to do all my food and everything, it's hard to find a lot of time to be able to spend with him. So I've been having him like half the weeks over these periods. So it's been nice to be honest.
How has that been, or how is that when you are in camp and knowing that you can't see your child for, a full week? I imagine it's really tough.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like me and his mum, we've got a good relationship anyway, so I can always fly there. But say she lives like a 10-15 minute drive from me. By the
Hmm.
time I get back, eat, and then go and see him come back, it's like a lot of hours where when I'm not finishing until like 6 and I've got to be up at like 6-7 in the morning, it's hard to do.
Hmm.
Um, it is, but at the same time, I can always see him. I don't know if in FaceTime, and I like I said, I can see him whenever I want. But it's just like you're sacrificing it for hopefully like a good reason. So now I've got this little respite. I'm using it to like full advantage, even though I can't really take him anywhere. But
Yeah.
going on little walks and enjoying the nice weather we've had. It's been nice. So yeah, it's been good.
Well, I mean, to be at your level, professional boxer, undefeated champion, you're obviously driven. But have things changed since having your little boy?
I
Like,
mean,
did you notice a change in your mindset?
yeah, definitely. I mean, when I found out I was having him, I passed my driving test in 6 weeks, and I think I've been putting that off. I think I passed when I was 22, and I've been putting it off for years. Do you know what I mean? Like
No way.
lazy, yeah. So I passed straight away. And just being a young like someone that's chucked into like a professional sport, it's like spending money on stupid things. And I remember I had a 6 rounder and earned whatever I earned, and I went on 3 holidays. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
No way.
yeah, like just stupid stuff like that. And I think once I found out had him, I didn't go away for like 18 months or something.
It's funny
So,
because I had Derry Matthews on the other night,
oh yeah, yeah,
and he was talking about like the best advice that he was ever given. He was like saying that George Vaughan was like, um, once you make money, just put it into something like
yeah,
property and like spend it wisely, And it's like all the kind of guys who've retired. That's the one thing that they say: be sensible, put your money into like things that will last, and don't just go on the session for like a year.
yeah. Yeah, do you know what? Hindsight is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hindsight is a beautiful thing. I think it's a hard to balance. I mean, I'm in a position now where I'm saving. I'm trying to get a mortgage. Obviously, this hasn't helped like this period of time, but everyone's in the same boat, so
Hmm.
it's just gonna delay it a little bit. But no, 100%. I think, especially with having a kid now, it's like my priorities are different. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I want something that, if nothing else, he's got always somewhere to live, etc. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's a bit deeper than just going out on tables and clubs and buying stupid, expensive trainers. You know what I mean? When really you're not earning the money to warrant doing that. But
Yeah,
because you've
absolutely.
got I don't know, the disposable cash, you just do stupid things with it. But yeah, 100%. I would second what Derry said. I know George Vaughan well. Obviously, me and my brothers both trained by his son Danny. So, yeah, 100% for any of the young boxers, and that's a big thing. And I do agree with that. Try and save up all your money as well, especially pay your tax as well. I think 'cause a lot of fighters don't. And
Yeah,
I got well
that's a good
advised.
one.
Yeah, I got well advised. I paid every bit of my tax. So, and now look with this self-employed Corona thing going on. Like, if you haven't paid your tax, you're not seeing a penny. Obviously, I'm lucky where I have, so I'll actually get a bit of money from that. Do you know what I mean? But that's another thing.
100%.
Because otherwise, you'll never have a house in your name or anything like that. So yeah, pay your tax as well.
Yeah, definitely, that's good
Definitely.
advice. That's the best bit of advice we've gotten, and like since we started these live interviews. But you mentioned your brother there. Obviously, like his achievements as well. Like, I mean, absolutely incredible. How has that kind of the journey in boxing been, being able to do this alongside your brother?
Yeah, I mean it's always been one of them things. I'm his little brother. Do you know what I mean? And that is
Yeah.
like
Is that
so.
annoying? Would you prefer if he wasn't there?
Nah, do you know what? A lot of people ask that. Do you know what? A lot of people ask that. Yeah, and it's one of them things. Like, I don't mind it. It's all I've ever known. You know, I'm like the sort of next in line. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I mean, it is good. Sorry, it's good when you get to the points where you're not getting introduced as younger brother of Charlie Edwards. You know what I mean? I'm waiting for the first thing where he gets the older brother of Sonny Edwards. You know what I mean? That's the bit I'm waiting for. Yeah, it's good, and seeing obviously him going and achieve, but obviously having that setback as well in his first world title shot, then having the 18-month turnaround, and then going on to win one. It's like, it just shows how close my dreams are to reality. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously Charlie was the first one, obviously out of us two as a pro. Do you know what I mean? He was the first one as an amateur as well. Like, we haven't had dads or uncles or cousins that boxed. It was just us two. Do you know what I mean? So we didn't know what to expect. Like, every single year in boxing that we've had, like, we're always learning and picking up new things, new experiences. Like, I remember when my brother entered his first national championship and he lost in the London finals or something. Then the next year he won the London finals, and I thought, being of, I don't know what I was, like 10, 11, and I think my brother did as well. Like, that was it. Do you know what I mean? And then, now you're boxing in the national quarterfinals. It was like, whoa. And then, you know what I mean? So every year we've learned something new, and I've always had that 3 years of experience from just being around him. Always.
Yeah.
Like, in the pros as well, definitely. Like, I've seen how things operate 3 years ahead of my career, or 2 years, I think it was. But seen how things operate, how promoters work, managements, like. But when you're first in, you have no clue about any of that stuff. And there's boxing, it's just like anything in the world. You can only actually learn from proper experience.
Yeah.
Like, and having him to learn from, it's like the way my ambition and my mentality is set up. I probably would have already had a world title shot by now if it was up to me. But who's to say I'd be ready? Do you know what I mean? But like, if you look at me, I'm 14-0. I think Charlie won his world title on 14-0. Oh, 14-1, I think it was when he won. I think that's right. But his ninth fight, he had a world title. My ninth fight, I had a step up, but instead of going for a step up to a world title, I stepped up to Ryan Farrag, who was like European level. That's the difference of that little bit of experience, and then obviously I've built it. I'm still undefeated. I'm ranked 4th for the WBO, 6th for the IBF, and 12th for the WBC. I'm in a perfect place now to mount an attack of 3 different belts.
Does does that concern you when you're going into a fight? At this stage, because people make such a big, when they write articles about you, when they're into it's like undefeated fighter. Like, do you worry about that undefeated streak going?
Nah, it's just a byline, to be honest. I think for me in the amateurs, obviously you hate losing. I'm a bad loser. I lost 7 times in my life through amateurs, and I cried every single one. I mean, my last loss was when I was 20. Do you know what I mean? Like, I hate losing. Like, to the point of it consumes me not coming second place. You know what I mean? It really does, and that's in spar and everything. But for me, all I think is if someone beats me fair and square, then they must have been a good fighter to do so. Like, then that's it. Like, I don't beat myself up or think I'm useless now. I just learn from that and go on.
So is it when you were fighting, or maybe not now, but in the early days, was it about the competition? Like you wanted to prove that you could win, or you wanted to get the win, I suppose, rather than, so it's kind of divided. Some fighters are like it really competitive and they fight because they want to, have a win over another man or woman. And then there's others that love that just a fight. They just want to actually get in there and have a fight.
Yeah, I love the whole like show aspect of it. I like it. It's like it's entertainment. It's like modern day gladiators sort of thing.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, when I fight to win. I don't fight to entertain. Like, even though sometimes I'll be doing flashy stuff, like that's usually for purpose. Like, you look at some of my fights, like Farag fight, there was a lot of bad blood before, so I played up to it more. Like when he was missing, I was trying to make a fool of him. Like Marcel, a bit of the same. But when I was fighting these Mexicans, like I didn't need to. They didn't know me. Like the first time they see me was at the press conference or the weigh-in. Like, so I didn't need to do it. Like, even if I'm baiting them, I'll do it a different way. But I just enjoy the whole and the mental aspect of it. There's so much to boxing. It seems like such a simple sport, but it's anything but. I mean, like, and I just get driven by sort of outworking and figuring out ways to win. Like, I think I've always been like that. And but yeah, there's something in me that just doesn't. I don't have quit in me. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind losing. I hate losing, but I don't mind losing. Like I know that there's lessons to be learned in everything, and like I said, if someone is to beat me fair and square, then they must be a good fight because I do rate myself that highly. But for me, I just want to push and prove myself at every stage. That's why I've always been calling. Like early on, I've been calling for big fights. Like early on, like when I had literally nothing, when I hadn't fought for no titles, 6 rounds, I was still calling for bigger fights, and I've always struggled to get them because I think in the amateurs you don't really get a choice who you fight. You just jump in and it's like you can either pull out the championship or whatever you're doing, or fight. There's no. I mean, if you pull out, they go on to the next round, so they're the winners basically by default. But obviously, pros isn't the same. And I think because of my confidence of calling these big fights and sort of putting on everyone, and even like I've got the British title now, and still no one in the division wants to like step up and fight. To the extent that we was trying to get a voluntary defence, and no one would take it. Everyone got offered it, no one would take it. Like a mandatory won't even get called. I can guarantee it because no one's going to put in for it, apart from probably my last opponent, Marcel.
How frustrating is that for you when you are just so eager to progress your own career, and like that you need an opponent?
Yeah, it was really frustrating to start with. I mean, obviously I know you're Irish based, but that's half of the reason why the whole Paddy Barnes saga went on, because he rightfully so, very rightfully so, had a big name. He was an Irish star in amateur boxing. For me, turned over too late to really make a dent, and then he was getting opportunity. Like I had a couple fights more than him, and then he got given a double European, which is fair enough. But then I was like, well, I would like something like that. But then what probably really made it is I had to box for the WO Superfly because against a kid that was really a light flyweight in Ross Murray. Like he was tiny, do you know what I mean? And I was a flyweight as well. I think we boxed at a catch weight, like half a pound over, like into super flyweight, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I weighed bang on flyweight, I think, and he weighed even less than me. But so it was like at that stage, like I won my title and then I was WBO super flyweight champion. And I was thinking European champion. I was thinking I don't want to box a super flyweight. Like this was my thinking at this point. Like, but I've been made to box at super flyweight because Paddy's got that title, not vacating it because he didn't want me to fight for it or not fighting me. So it's like, hold on, you being there, you're sort of steering my career a certain way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I've got one title, and then I get offered a fight with Ryan Farag. All the time in my head, I'm thinking, I'm a flyweight, really. Do you know what I mean? As an amateur, it's 49 kilos, so 50.8 is a flyweight. That's my natural weight. But because of that one little thing that happened early on in my 6th fight, then I started boxing all at super flyweight. So it was like, nah, it's not. That's why the fight was getting called, because like they weren't personal for him, but like you're kind of steering my career because obviously with the same manager, same fighter, and they're steering me away from you.
Yeah.
And that's why I made and as well, it would have been a huge fight that a lot of people would have watched and something that I felt comfortable winning. And that wasn't a slight on Paddy. Like I said, I thought he turned over too late. But that was why. And now, even now, I'm boxing at super flyweight still. So that was 9 fights ago that happened.
So in that, for example, with Paddy, when something like that happens, like obviously he's retired now, so there's there's little to no chance of that fight
Oh,
happening.
of course, of course.
Do you really just have to kind of put that then into the back of your mind and go, look, that's gone now, can't dwell on that? Or like, is this the type of industry where you just have to kind of adapt and overcome to situations that sort of are presented to you?
I think, yeah, 100%. The only reason I'm in the position I am in now, fighting on TV shows, good title fights and whatnot, and good backing, is because I've taken opportunities. Like,
Yeah.
I've taken risks. Like, Ryan Farag was my 8th fight, I think. I'd had a fight scheduled for 10 rounds that went 4, and everything else was 4 and 6 rounders. So I'd never been over 6 rounds. And I jumped in with someone that was a legit European champion at bantamweight. Had 20 odd fights, loads of title fights, like, and obviously that was a big step up to take at that time. And the purse wasn't great, but I knew that it was the opportunity that I needed. Like, fought him, beat him, boxed while doing it. There was a lot of needle there, and I built my name off that. I was boxing 7 weeks later against someone that gave Jamie Conlon like torrid time. In Casino Granados, who'd beat the current WBO #1 in Pelikte. Like, and I took that fight at 4.5 weeks' notice. I hadn't, from the Farag fight to when I went back in the gym for that fight, at 4.5 weeks' notice, I hadn't stepped foot in the gym because this was just before Christmas. I fought Farag in the last week of October, and I fought Granados halfway through December. But when they offered me that, I'm going to jump it because there's another TV fight, another title fight, and like that was a risk. Like, a lot of people thought, oh, like after Farag, that Granados, that's another step up. Like, people had seen him on Box Nation, they'd seen him. And Jamie, very, very tough, and he had that round where he had Jamie all over the place, and then Jamie squeezed him out at the end. But I've taken them risks, and even when I've been calling for bigger fights, like, and they haven't come through, I'm lucky now that I'm in a place where I'll get my fight date, then we'll look for the opponent. If none of these British fighters will fight me, I will still get the opportunity. I will still get another title, build up my rankings, fight on TV, even if it is just one of these, Mexicans or something else. Because I've got to that, but before I didn't have that.
You strike me as someone who is like really progressive in terms of like always thinking about the future and what's next and what's coming. Have you always been like that, or is it just now that it's like obviously your professional career and you realize how much can be achieved and how much money you can make, your profile can raise? Like, where did this sort of mindset and drive come from?
You know what? I've always had high expectations from myself, but also probably given to me. Like I spoke about earlier, having my brother 3 years ahead of me. So in the amateurs, my brother won 2 schoolboy titles, a European schoolboy gold medal, then the juniors and everything. And by 15, he was on Team GB. I think he was one of the youngest ever to be on there, if not the youngest. He was on at 15. Yet me, even though arguably I've always been the more talented of the two, he always has worked harder, always worked harder. But my expectations were different to him. He got to the London final, only had 2 fights, and that was a good achievement. Then when he won, it was great. Do you know what I mean? And when he won again, it was great. Like, but me, I got to the schoolboy final and lost, and that was like underachieving. Does that make sense? Like, it was like the end of the world. Like, now I look back at the kids in our gym that, like, schoolboys to juniors, they get to a national final. That's a big achievement. Even if, like, so what? But it's funny because I always think back to like that it was the end of the world for me back then, and it's always been like that. Like, it always has.
And when you think back to those times when you were so young and you were so affected by them, do you think that, like, did you know then that you were, boxing was it and you were going to be a professional boxer, or is it just who you are? It was just in the moment, you just wanted to win and the defeat was sort of crushing you?
Nah, I just hate losing, like I said, but that could have been at football on the weekend. It could have been at school, doing anything, like cross country. I hated losing. Like, everything I did, playing PlayStation, hated losing. Like, there's not a thing I like losing at. Like, that's always been it for me. But boxing, I went to a very good school. I went to like one of the top 10 schools in England, like grammar school. We have to pass like an 11 plus, like very, very good school. It was like something out of Harry Potter. It was like Hogwarts. You know what I mean? It was literally like all boys school in Surrey. A very good school. So I always had that. Like, I came out of school flying with my GCSEs, got A levels in history, English, and PE, and then I went to university. I really only fucked about at uni. I did a sports course just because I didn't want to do anything else. and I just wanted to. But by that point, I just wanted to box. But
Mm.
when I was 14 or 14 or 15, I quit boxing completely for about 7-8 months. Didn't step foot in a boxing ring. I didn't like it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because of them high expectations of me, and I kept like falling short. I just had enough, and then I was doing what, I thought normal 14, 15-year-old kids were doing, just sort of like lounging about the estates and whatnot, chasing after girls. And because I'd moved from my dad's house to my mum's, and then my dad was very strict. My mum was the complete opposite. Like, as long as I weren't getting in direct trouble, then she would let me kind of do whatever I wanted. Like, and I did push it a bit, but like I would be coming in the house at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when I had school the next day. Like,
No way.
being a right little, yeah, thinking
You
like,
got the clatter in the head.
yeah. No, don't get me wrong, my mum would bollock me, yeah, but like, you know what? It's like my relationship with my mum was always, she would never follow through with what she said. Like, so when we was young, it was always like, I'll tell your dad. Never did until like the one time that she did, and it was like, I remember me and my brother being shocked that she told me. You know what I mean? Like, and we'd pushed her, like, but it was always like that. So then that kind of helped me find the balance, really, because I had very strict from like say 11 to 14, doing all my boxing. I was going training all the time. My dad was always that type of mentality. If you're gonna do something, do it properly.
Yeah.
And that's obviously been instilled now into me, which is good. But then I had that freedom. And then at the end of the summer, so I had like 7-8 months, and at the end of the summer, it got to the point where all my friends that I'd spent all this time with were calling me and trying to get me out. And I was making out that my mum wouldn't let me out just so I didn't have to go out. Like, I just didn't, like, I'd been and done it all now in my head.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get back boxing. And I barely spoke to my dad at all in that 7-8 months, because it's always been hard for me and him to have a relationship outside of boxing, even from young. Like, just the way things are set up. And then, yeah, I got it back on. Bear in mind, at this point, I'd never won a national title. I'd got to finals, and always fell short. I had a good record, but I hadn't done anything. And then I joined Repton because I love sparring, and that's what they gave me, just loads and loads of sparring, even when I was probably a little fat kid. And then there was like, the junior ABAs are coming up. Do you want to jump in them? And like, I'd boxed the year before at something like 38 kilos, which was the lightest weight. And then the next year in the juniors, it was 46 kilos, the lightest weight. So it was a big jump, really, at that age. And I just sort of got fat. I didn't really get any too much bigger. I just got put on weight. And then I got it down to about 44 kilos, which was right at the bottom. And I was like, yeah, go on, then I'll jump in. But that was the first time in my boxing life when I just thought, I'm just going to go in there. I'm probably going to get beat, because I've only been in the gym for about 6 weeks at this point, after 7 months doing nothing. And I boxed a kid that was honestly, like, I swear to God, he was about a clear foot taller than me. Like, he was tall and skinny, boxed from my old club as well. It's like, I thought I was going to get my ass handed to him. And then it was probably the best I'd ever boxed up to that point. And then,
Really?
but bear in mind, I'd literally got back into the gym after all that time off, like late September, early October. And I boxed this kid in about probably late November, early December. Like, it was literally like such a quick turnaround. And then I ended up beating him, then winning the quarters, the semis, and then the finals. And I won my first national title. And I was sitting there scratching my head thinking, like, this is mad. And like, I'll be more honest, yeah, because John, I was tuned into Jono's the other day, and he was talking about smoking weed, right?
Say, yeah.
And he was talking about, yeah. And I went for about 7-8 months, like, discovered what weed was, and spent the whole time like sitting on like my girlfriend at the time's estate, smoking weed, drinking, like, just fucking about. Do you know what I mean? Just being an absolute like delinquent. Do you know what I mean? Like, never getting into too much trouble, but just being an idiot, like thinking we're larger than life, like, when really we was just a couple of fat kids, like, that had no perspective of life. Do you know what I mean? No perspective of life. Like, scared of our own shadow, really.
Yeah.
And then I did all of this, got back into boxing for like 8 weeks, and then won my first national title. I couldn't believe it. But I think more than anything, the mentality switched from, obviously I started off wanting to do boxing, and then I was just going along with it because it was our routine. Like, I would spar and then sneak off into the back and like would like play football, and I'd do anything but train. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when I realised that I actually wanted to do this, like, I had everything else, and now I weren't, like, because when I lived with my dad, I kind of felt obliged to do it, even though like, if he'd be like, oh, stay here then if you don't want it. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I just felt kind of obliged to like follow on. And then when I was at my mum's, like, I now had the choice, and that choice, I think, set me, because then from that I went on to win 6 national titles in a row, get on Team GB, obviously turned pro, and kind of the rest is history. All from, like, I haven't turned back from that 7-8 month period out, and I've had success really all the way through, apart from that one ABA final that I lost.
So what, apart from that moment, what else stands out as one of your proudest moments?
Um, my first and only fight for GB, I went over to Finland, and I was the very, very first fight in that in the tournament. I think it was the GBs in Helsinki. It was. I know Ireland was represented there. There was a few good nations there,
Yeah.
and I drew the. Bear in mind, I was 20, and this was my first international fight. I drew in the first fight of the tournament, the Kazakhstan 2013 world champion, two times Olympian, had already qualified for Rio. Like when they call you in for a briefing after you get the draw, and GB they'll watch like some footage of your fighters, and the footage they pull up is him winning the 2013 gold medal against like Uzbekistan or something. And then they have like a record at the top. I can remember it clear as day. They have a record at the top, like the videos that they have for this fighter. So obviously there's going to be loads of tournaments that GB aren't at, so can't get footage. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
had 78 fights of him on file, and he'd won 73 of them.
Wow.
And it was like the whole thing was like as soon as they drew an end, I was getting basically talked by the coaches. You know, just the non-verbals and like the little hints when it's like, yeah, just go out there and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Yeah, like, so this is a good lad. Enjoy yourself. Don't put too much pressure. I've only gone and beat him. Like, I'm beating well as well. And the frustratingest thing in the whole world was, because don't know if you'll probably know him, Stevie McKenna.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
in, even though he's like, what, a welterweight now or something. He was, and it's only 2016, he was the same weight as me. And we would have met in the final, I think, or the semi-finals or something. But in the last 30 seconds of this fight, I threw a right hand and snapped the ligament like, completely in my right hand. And that put me out of that. And the most frustrating thing is that win was the best win at that weight, like, out of all the lads by far. Do you know what I mean? Like, you had
Yeah.
Galao Yafai, who I'd already beat that year, Harvey Horn, Joe Mafosa, and that was the best win. I went to the specialist. It's like, I got pulled out the tournament for the next day, went to a specialist. From landing at the airport, GB got me to go straight to a specialist because the qualifiers was in 6 weeks. They said I couldn't punch for 8 weeks. So I was out, and then Galao obviously qualified. Like, fair play to him, he did the business, but that was heartbreaking at the same time. It's like the biggest thing that happened, and then straight instant, like, just instant taken away from me was at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instantly. But that was definitely a proud moment, I think. And then obviously winning that British title, I think, even though, to be fair, the fight turned out quite good, and it was probably the most competitive fight on the card, so it kind of saved it a little bit. But and the opponent's not like recognised or said too much, but winning the British title, the last champion of it was my brother as well. So like our name's going to be engraved next to each other. It's just like a little bit of history. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. How have you sort of embraced, the kind of media side of the sport, I suppose? Because like you're obviously at a level where, there's a lot of TV stuff involved, there's a lot of eyes on you, and you've always been like any interviews that I've watched of you or read, you've always been really open and honest, especially talking about your mum and her health. Was that something, or is that something that you kind of consciously want to do, or is it just you're naturally open and honest and it just kind of comes out?
Yeah, I feel like I am quite an honest person. I mean, I can be a good liar, but I'm like, I feel like quite unapologetic about being honest. If someone asks my opinion, I'll give it. I
Yeah.
tend not to try and just spout my opinion and advice over people that don't want it. Do you know what I mean? I try not to do that because I know I hate that personally.
Hmm.
When people like try and tell you to do something, like say if I'm about to do something and someone tells me to do it, I now don't want to do it. That's my mental, like, that's my backward mentality that I've got. But with the media, I feel like I know the part it plays. Like, so the cameras and the interviews, I've always give my time. I'm very much though like I don't go looking for interviews. I mean, I went up to Scotland, all the way to Scotland for my press conference just like a few weeks, or about a month and a half ago, whatever it was now, to announce the Josh Taylor bill.
Yeah.
I did a couple of interviews before, but my thing is, especially with press conferences, weigh-ins, anything like that, when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. And that's all the time. Like, as soon as I can go, I'm going. If anyone ever grabs me on the way out, that's fine. But like, I had BT ringing me when I was at Nando's around the corner, like, oh, you want an interview? And I was like, well, like, you said you wanted me, and then you went straight up to Josh Taylor, which is fair enough, but I'm not waiting around. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the way I've always been. But when I do speak, I do kind of speak from the heart, speak from honest. I don't really. I think a lot of boxers are very image conscious and want people to like them. And I think
Yes.
when you do that, it's sort of one. It takes away from the authenticity of your actual person, And then it's going to eat you up in the long run, because when you're doing stuff for people to like you and then they stop liking you for whatever reason, you've lost, or you say something out of turn, like, then that eats away at you. Like, with me, it's
Very true.
I am what I am. I come as I come, and people either take to me or they don't. And I feel like that's what they built on. Like, and then when it comes to the social media side of stuff, I understand the role that plays too. Like, pretty much everything I do on that is tongue in cheek and like arsing about, and people take it hella seriously. But I feel like it plays a vital role, because when I'm doing my fucking about and taking the piss out of people, it's like people will get offended by it, but people will be like laughing and supporting it. So it's like both edges of the sword. Do you know what I mean? But I think more than anything, because with that side of stuff, is I'm just bored. Like, I get a lot of free time. I mean, boxing is all I've ever known, or all I've ever done. So when I'm not doing anything, I'm just there on my phone, which is why, like I said to you before, like, I'm coming off for now. All social media is like, just going to delete the apps, and I'm not going to delete the profile. So I'm gonna be back. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like it's just the same conversation. It's driving me wild. It's like every single day, coronavirus, lockdown, when you fighting next. Like, it's the same over and over, and watching people do press ups in their garden and get challenged to do after 100 sit out. I don't know. It's just the same over and over again. It's like one of those bad films that you wake up and it's the same day.
Groundhog Day.
Literally Groundhog Day. Yeah. It's literally like, and it's just doing my head in. And I feel like people are amped up as well. Like, they're getting on, because everyone's bored, really. Like, they're getting on to everyone. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, had murders on Twitter, it's like people slating Anthony Fowler for hitting a bag. It's like, oh my God, like, people tagging Sky News, like, oh, what about this one of your fights? Like, oh, bore off, man. Like,
yeah.
Like, cause I could post a video at me at a music festival 2 years ago and make out it's today. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's literally insane. Like, insane. Like,
a crisis will bring out the worst in people, is what I'm realising.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, I don't know, like, I've been isolating myself. It's not trying to score points. I've been isolating myself. I live alone. The only people
10 points.
The only people I've been to see, and even for the first, I think, 10 days, I wasn't even allowed to see my son because his mum was all up in the air about things.
Yeah.
But, like, I've been staying in just so I can have my kid half the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he had like a sniffle, do you know what I mean? And then so she locked him down for a week and a bit, but that was fine. And I've been staying in, so I can definitely see him. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be bad mind. Whereas, like, I don't really mix with anyone at risk, but as we found out, that people that aren't at risk are dying. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I've been keeping myself to myself, but at the same time, I'm not going to start, like, as I'm driving to get my son or something, start taking pictures of people walking too close and like, like, people are right grasses and just, it's mad. Like, I think people, but I do think it comes with people being very, very bored more than anything.
Yeah.
Turn on the
I was just about to say, turn on the light. You're fading into the background.
Yeah, do you know why? Because I had that natural lighting coming in, and then it's gone now. It's gone.
That good natural lighting.
Yeah, that good natural lighting is better. Yeah.
But, you know, I think with that, I always just say that if you just worry about yourself, there's enough to be worrying about.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I feel like everyone's got an opinion on everything, but, like, it's where does it stop? Do you know what I mean? Just focus on yourself, and as long as you know you're doing right, like, you can't actually physically control what anyone else is doing, and you'll drive yourself crazy trying to. Like,
absolutely. I was going to ask you, I have a final question, and keep it on the theme of media. What's the one question that you wish you were asked in interviews, and what's the one question that you were sick of being asked in interviews? Please don't say anything that I asked.
Wish I was asked.
Yeah. Or what one thing that would you want to talk about in interviews that you don't ever get asked about?
I feel like because I'm quite opinionated, I get asked quite a lot. So let me try and come back to that. What I'm sick of getting asked about, what I'm absolutely sick of getting asked about is stuff like, do you know what? It's not even in interviews, to be honest. But I always get asked when I fight my brother and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, all the time. Not in interviews, really, though, to be fair. But
just our fans.
Yeah, but like all the time. And like, say if I'm on Insta Live, like every 5 minutes I have the same set of questions asked.
Yeah.
But
Why do you think that is?
I feel like it's just a thing in it. Like, if it was different weights, we probably wouldn't get it. But we're the same weight, we're brothers, you know what I mean? And we sparred a hell of a lot. So I guess people just will always compare us. Like, if I have a not as good performance, like, oh, Charlie's much better than him. If Charlie doesn't, it's the other way around. You know what I mean? It's just like, we're not in the same competition, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'd like to get asked more about, I don't know, stuff on drugs, like, but guided questions, not where it's just like giving me a rope so I can hang myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Do you
find
that a lot that with journalists that, you know, the more popular you get, that you do get that where people are like, you know, just feeding you the rope, like you say, to hang yourself?
Yeah, but I understand it, because I understand, like, they're trying to keep everyone happy. They're not trying to alienate people, because to get their access to fighters, like, and don't get me wrong, I know of, like, a lot of the media interviewers, etc., are now, like, good friends of mine. I mean, like, people like Rob Tebbett, like, I actually class as, like, proper friend. We speak pretty much every day, every other day. Do you know what I mean? But I understand that he can't go out there all, like, ball in a china shop, because he's already had little things where big fighters won't ever do interviews with him on his platform again. And really, like, I know the ins and outs, and it's like, they're just a bit overreacting. But like I've, for example, like, listen to how mad this is. I refuse to do interviews with the seconds out guy called Danny Flexen, for the only reason, and this is the oddest reason, and when I say it, people are going to be like, what? Like, he did an interview with me before my WBO European title fight against Ross Murray. At this stage, I had no intention of fighting Paddy. Was not calling him out, like, because for me, he was ahead of me. Do you know what I mean? Like, the bigger name, like, everything, he was ahead of me. He did a article, and I remember him asking a few questions on who do you want to fight, who do you see as your rivals, your competitors. I mentioned Andrew Selby and Paddy Barnes as being the people I want to mix it with, because, like, they're at the level that I want to operate at. Do you know what I mean? That's what I said. He took it out of context and made the headline something like, I want Paddy Barnes next. And plastered everyone. I messaged him, can you change that? And he went, oh, I mean, I know what gets a good headline. I was like, but that's not what I said. Like, put the full quote in. And, like, in the actual thing, really deep down, he took it out of context, but put, like, more of what I said in. But it was like the headline. And from ever then, I've never, ever done an interview with him. Like, so I understand the whole thing. Like, it can be something little, but you know, when you have your principles, I'm very much like that. I feel like if someone takes the piss, then I'll never give him a second chance. Like,
yeah.
And I understand why. But at the same time, you would like the interviewers to just ask them a bit more direct questions. And for me, the biggest problem is that in boxing, everyone's a bit like, when something comes up like drugs, cheating, or like a scandal or something, it's like people don't want to really talk about it. And that's like the biggest problem. Like, like, fighters that get banned should be at their press conference when they come back getting asked about.
Yes,
so what are you changing? Like, why did you do it? Or, like, because I have more respect for them fighters that come out like, yeah, to be fair, I did do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you caught me, I've done my time, and then go back. Yeah, that's fine. But when they come up with the dog ain't my homework and all of that stories, it's like, they should be getting asked it, and the other fighters should be getting asked it, because that's the way you sort of edge them out, when it becomes like someone that's proper disrespect, like disgusting. When a lot of people be up in arms about something, but then as soon as they fall next, it's forgotten about. Which I'm not at liberty to be, you know, judge, jury, and executioner, because that's not my job. I'm a fighter. I get in and fight with whoever they say is legal to fight. I mean, I know for a fact I've never touched anything, so I'd never have to worry. But you get the impression from a lot of fighters high up that a lot of fighters are on stuff, and it's dangerous. And it's like, people can just get forgiven and get opportunities, and you have fighters that are number one ranked with a governing body, fail a drugs test, and when they come back, they're still like ranked number 3, have one fight, and they're mandatory. It's like, where do we draw the line? Like,
so would that be one aspect of, we'll say, boxing, the business of boxing, that you dislike?
Yeah, like, so a kind of, it was Commonwealth champion and ranked with the IBF, but like a fight called Liam Cameron, for example, like, he's the example I've been using a lot recently when it comes to this. He got banned for cocaine, I believe. He got banned for cocaine traces that he puts down to counting money and licking his fingers. I don't believe, but that's by the by. But he got a 4-year ban. A 4-year ban, yet there's people that have failed on multiple cases of performance-enhancing drugs that boost your performance. Like, not a recreational drug, not like something that you go out and do and partying. Like they
Yeah.
put something that they put in their body to give them advantage on fight night to hurt and maim someone else. That's for me. That's the bottom line. Yet why has someone got a 4-year ban and then people are coming off 2 18 months, 12-month ban? Maybe it's because they've got better lawyers. Maybe because they're bigger names and bring more. Like, but why? Like, why? Where's the consistency? Do you know what I mean?
So, what's the solution, do you think? Like, should we, it sounds extreme, but should we be looking at like prosecution, like someone being actually prosecuted for knowing that they're taking a drug enhancements and going into the ring and potentially doing damage to someone?
I mean,
Or what way would you recommend that it worked if you were given the opportunity to call it?
I feel like we're very, very lucky that none of these fighters that have lost their life or become incapacitated through brain injury, etc. We're very lucky that none of the fighters that have had this done to them, their opponent then found a drug test. I think we're very lucky in that. Like, 'cause I can't think of anyone that's ever happened to. We're very lucky in that sense for the people that did it. But I feel like the closer solution to it being fair would be just lifting up the curtain and saying everyone just go and do what you want. For me, that seems closer because I'm not gonna like drop the names, but there's certain fighters, like UK-based fighters, that have come back from America, living and training over there, laughing and pretty much saying it's mad. Every single fight, pretty much over there, is on it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like talked about so openly and like, do you know what I mean? And blasé that it's just something that's done. Do you know, and he's getting away with it because we've seen time and time again that passing the drugs test doesn't mean they're clean. Like if we look at the Miller case, for example, he got drug tested 3 times in 2 weeks, and each time it was a different reading. Like he failed on that one, then didn't fail on the second one, but then failed on the third one, then failed something else. You know what I mean? It was like, for me, that's the scariest thing because he took a drug test like 2 days apart and found the different things. Like, so in 2 days, something was in the system on one day isn't no longer in the system to get traced. Like, and then people go, oh, but then it's going to be who has the best science. Well, it's that anyway at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, there is going to be supplements and methods of, nutrition, etc., in all these countries across the world that haven't reached the light of day, maybe over here or to all corners of the earth, that fighters are going to be using and abusing, and they're not even on the radar of something that's banned yet. Do you know what I mean? There's like, and that's facts. Like that's 100% certainty because there's like until something's banned, it's unbanned.
Yes,
like, until something's banned, it's legal. So someone and all these drugs get like one sort of molecule changed in the formula, and now it's a whole new setup, but it's still got what you needed from that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's scary, it's bizarre. But so for me, it's like it would probably be closer to just let everyone do whatever and get everyone, and then it's like who can do it the most tactically because we all know everyone's on stuff, rather than 90% of the boxers, the lower echelon ones, and then there'll be the fighters that make it up to the elite level from just graft and hard work. Then they'll meet someone that's on something, and then they'll get blasted up. And you can't always blame it because there is just levels in boxing. But when you have a really good fighter with really good performance enhancing, like that's creating a monster. Like it really is for me. That's the only way I can see it. And I feel like you see some fighters. Again, I'm not mentioning no names, but you see some.
Oh,
fighters,
please don't.
yeah, I don't want to. Allegedly, you see some fighters like completely out of shape on the first week of January. By the first week of February, they're ripped to shreds. Do you know what I mean? And I know how much I got to put my body through anything to get from fat to fit. Do you know what I mean? And even then, I still like. It's like, how do they do that? Is their muscle memory that great that they can just abuse their body for 6-9 months with alcohol and whatever goes, not be 30 kilos overweight, and all of a sudden, in 28 days, they are fine. Like, and I've seen it from my own eyes. I'm based in Sheffield, so make of that as you will. Like, I've seen it from my own eyes, seeing people in the street minding their day-to-day business, overweight, out of shape, like looking nowhere near ready to go to the gym. Seen that same person 4 weeks later at a boxing show looking shredded. Crazy. Like, how do they do it? I would love to know. Like, and I'm pretty sure it's not just hard work, hitting the roads and dieting. I'm pretty sure it's not that. But at the same time, we are just pawns on this massive chessboard that we call boxing.
Yeah.
Like, we get moved forward to the end. Hopefully, we become a queen at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, that's all we can do. Try and move forward, and hopefully, the way the things set out in front of us is good for us. You know what I mean? Like, we can only do what we can control, which is the
I
hard work,
agree.
gym,
Yes.
and keeping on the straight and narrow, not trying to get swayed by the drugs and the cheats and whatnot. But like, I can sympathise with people that do, because like, if you generally think, well, everyone else is doing it, then I can sympathise with the people that do go down and thinking, well, I'm just the same as my competition then. I mean, I can never live with me. Like, I think I'm way too outspoken about it to ever. Like, could you imagine me finding a drug test? I would just have to leave boxing
Or
and
they'd be
never come
digging
back.
up this interview, that's for sure.
I would. But there's hundreds of them. Every interview it goes like this. But like, I would have to leave everything. I'd have to just fly off to like Bali or something and just be like I don't know, like a tourist attraction, like gym instructor or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all I could do. Like, I couldn't show my face again. But I feel like it gets brushed under the carpet way too much. But it's not just drugs. There's like loads of things, like loads of things.
Okay, quickly tell me what you love about the sport.
I love a hell of a lot about the sport. I love how it changes people's lives. So I've seen it so many times. So it's changed my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, I had a good upbringing, to the sense of we didn't really want for nothing, but there was a large period of time where like my dad was broke on his ass, my mum broke on her ass. Like, my dad sold his car just to buy a runaround car just so we could get to the gym and back. Like, and then that money went and he had to go and do something. Do you know what I mean? It was like he was chasing his ass just to keep us ticking over. And then come from a working class family, no inheritance money that's plopped on our heads and we can buy a house or anything like that. Like, we don't have that. That's not our reality. Like, our reality is everything me and my brother we've got from our own hard work and hands. Like, I've never, and my brother never has worked. We've not worked a day in our life. I'm 24 and I moved out of London and moved to Sheffield when I was 18, and I've been on my own since. Like, I've not had no handouts. Everything I do, it has been off my own back, same as my brother. And that's what I love about it. It's really provided the opportunity. And at the moment, obviously, I'm a million miles away from being financially secure for the rest of my life, but I'm very comfortable for someone my age, and for that, that is everything down to boxing. Like, I wouldn't be earning this money doing anything else. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no chance. And I just love how do you know how it's socializing, the people you meet from all across the world. Like, it's such a network that you don't really forget people in boxing. Do you know what I mean? Like, probably half the reason why I love going to all the boxing shows, because you see all the same the same faces, and it's good. It's like a community where you belong. I got voted British Boxer of the Year by the ex-London Boxers Association or something like that. And I went down and I had to do a speech and whatnot, and there was about 200-300 like famous old boxing faces from like literally every walk, from world champions to like, all down to like area champions. But they have somewhere that years later they're still coming. Does that make sense? Like, and it's one thing I said in my speech, like, stuff like this is great, because obviously afterlife boxing, I can only imagine it's really hard for some people. I mean, the ones that come out multimillionaires and their kids are set for life, and that's one thing. But them people that come out now, it's like, what do I do now? Do you know what I mean? But having that sort of that community, your local gym, the boxers that you used to see on the circuit as an amateur, is like, you do make friends and like associates for life. And I think that is one of the biggest and best things. Like, I've got so many memories that
I'm gonna start crying. You're gonna make me cry.
Nah, but I've got so many memories that I can only thank boxing for. You know what I mean? Yo.
Oh, that's like that. I totally relate with that so much. That's like one of the most important things. It's that community thing that's part of why I do what I do as well. It's getting people to see how impactful it can be to someone's life.
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, when I went down to London for this award, and I walked out because I had to get back up to Sheffield. Like, I literally drove down and drove back up in the same day. Like, these old fighters and even just old blokes that obviously I have no idea who they are now, but I can also imagine the life they've lived in boxing and around the sport, and like they're still coming years later to these events. Like, probably take time to like speak to me, and like, for me that's massive. Like, I've even said to them that, any more of these events, like, invite me down, I'll be there. Do you know what I mean? Because I can imagine how easily it is to think that boxing has forgotten about you, because, for me now, like, seeing my brother, he lost that fight, and it's like boxing forgot about him for a year, and he was useless. He was never gonna make it. He was never gonna be world champion. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you hear. This is what you're told. Like social media, like experts, like he's the weren't ready. Do you know what I mean? It's like boxing can forget about you so quickly. So you just got to enjoy it while you do it. Like I think that's
Absolutely.
my biggest key to success is there's never a day that I can't be asked to do this. I don't want to do this because I just enjoy it that much. I enjoy getting in and sparring, and even though the training's hard and you don't always enjoy getting up and going for runs, it's like this is how I'm living my life thanks to boxing. Where I'd much rather be doing this than clocking in at 9 o'clock and clocking out at 5. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Amen. I hear you.
100%.
There's a couple before I let you go. There's a couple of questions. I'm just going to check them and see what everyone was asking. Okay, so there's loads of people just saying you're my favorite fighter and all this kind of lovely stuff. But Nathan would like to know, what's your most memorable fight, or what's your favorite fight?
It's got to be the Ryan Farrag one. I mean, that had a good build-up because there was personal things that had gone on. We'd sparred the year before. We was all cool, like 12 months before we fought. Then something happened with my brother's ex-bird and him. Do you know what I mean? It was like there was a good backing.
Murder!
Yeah, and like, I mean, it kind of made it easy for my build-up because all Farrag was saying was, I shagged your brother's ex-missus. And I was like, but I was just like, do you know what? I didn't even like this bird when she was about. Do you know what I mean? So I don't care. And that's all I was getting for 7 weeks. But there was all that. There was a heated weigh-in. It was my first fight on TV. I headlined a York Hall show. Never boxed a York Hall before that. There was a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Defending my title, the champion, my hometown. And then I passed it at flying colours when it was a big test. You know what I mean? So that probably is my breakthrough performance. That's probably in the pro ring. That's probably my most memorable night.
Right, I'll give you one more. Hang on, let me grab it. There's a good one just after coming in. Kelvin Martin 93 has just asked your favourite Irish boxer.
Oh, do you know what? I've got loads. I've got good friends. You know what? As people, I love John O'Carroll. I love Gary Cully. You know, there is loads. But as an actual fighter right now, I reckon Mick Conlan. I know you had him on the other day, but wow, like he's someone I've looked up to. Because for me, my heroes were always, when I was an amateur, my heroes were amateurs. I didn't really care about pro boxing, if that makes sense. So initially, it was like the seniors in my gyms that I was fighting at were like gods to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking the biggest ones I can remember when I was 11. I had my first fight. There was Bradley Skeet, Aaron Khan. These sort of fighters were they were like gods to me at that stage. You know what I mean? And then when it was like 14, 15, I'm talking people like Andrew Selby, Michael Conn, you know, similar weights to me, like what I thought I'd be at. Boxing for the the WSB and the Olympics, and like they were the people I looked at. So Michael Conlan, I think, was definitely he was someone that he was always obviously a few years ahead. So I've looked at him all the way through. Do you know what I mean? And if that makes sense.
Good choice.
I was a volunteer at the Olympic Games. This is just like one little line. I was a volunteer. You know the flag bearers that walked in the fighters.
Yeah.
I was one of them, and I walked in Mick. And I also that kid that I was telling you about from Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
I walked him out in 2012 and then boxed him in 2016 and beat him.
No way. Wow. Yeah. That's full circle, right?
Yeah.
Right, go on. They're flying in. One more question, right? I'll take one more. Let's see. I kind of have to filter through them because you get some dodgy ones.
I can imagine I get some dodgy ones.
So Jacob Jones has just asked, what current world champion would you want to box for the title?
Probably the IBF world champion, because he's a friend of mine actually. I was in Ukraine with him. But Maruti Mutulani, he's with MTK as well. He's an age champion, hasn't lost in 10 years, but he's the IBF. Or probably Martinez, because obviously he's a massive name now, especially in Britain, with beating Selby and Jay Harrison, and obviously the performance against my brother. And there's a written in backstory there already, you know, after what happened with my brother, time for me to settle the score. And it's a fight that I'd be very confident in because of styles for me. I feel like he throws his punches from the other side of the ring. And for me, like, a fighter can't do that. Do you know what I mean?
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, really cool. Thanks so much. I'm very grateful. And hopefully the next time we get you on, it won't be an Instagram live because of coronavirus.
Yeah, hopefully we've got
It'll
some
be
fight dates or something.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah. I think the plan for me is going to cover a lot more UK shows and
Yeah.
get to more MTK shows as well. So hopefully we'll get something done over the next couple of months once
Yeah,
we get out
definitely.
of quarantine.
No.
But thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No. Anytime.
Good stuff. Well, enjoy the
See you
rest of your
later.
evening. Talk to you soon. Thanks,
Cheers.
Tony.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you all tomorrow, 7 o'clock.